In a shocking turn of events, Trump breaks her silence about her parents' high-profile divorce. As the eldest daughter of Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump, offers an unprecedented glimpse into the private struggles that tore apart one of America's most prominent families. Through exclusive conversations with close friends, reveals the moment she watched her perfect family life crumble under the weight of fame, politics, and mounting pressure. What triggered this divorce? You're about to find out. A chance meeting. It all started in 2003 at a fashion show in New York City. The trendy nightclub capital was hosting an event for Kmart, bringing together top models and high-profile guests. Among them was Vanessa Hayden, a young model who caught everyone's eye. Donald Trump himself sat in the front row, commanding attention as always. That night, he introduced his son, Don Jr., to Vanessa not once but twice. The first introduction was awkward, filled with small talk that went nowhere. The second time around, Trump seemed to have forgotten about the earlier introduction entirely, leading to an almost comical moment when Vanessa remembered Don Jr. as the one with the dad. But fate had other plans. 6 weeks later, at another high society party, they met again. This time, something clicked. They talked for over an hour before the memory of their previous encounters suddenly came flooding back. Don Jr., known for his business acumen and hunting adventures, showed a different side that night, charming, attentive, and surprisingly down-to-earth despite his famous last name. Their connection was instant and electric, the kind of spark that makes you forget about the awkward first meetings and focus on the possibility of what could be. Friends recall how Don Jr. seemed different around Vanessa, more relaxed, happier, and often smiling. Their relationship quickly became the talk of New York's social scene. Here was Donald Trump's eldest son dating a model who had graced magazine covers and walked the biggest runways. To outsiders, they seemed like the perfect couple. Whirlwind romance. The courtship of Don Jr. and Vanessa moved at breakneck speed. By 2004, engagement rumors were swirling through Manhattan's elite social circles. But it wasn't just their pending wedding that had people talking, it was how Don Jr. chose to propose that really got tongues wagging. In a move that his own father would later criticize, Don Jr. orchestrated a publicity stunt that raised eyebrows across New York society. He struck a deal with Bailey Banks and Biddle Jewelers at the Short Hills Mall, agreeing to propose in front of their store in exchange for a $100,000 engagement ring. Cameras were ready, paparazzi were positioned, and the whole thing played out like a scene from a reality show, which, given the Trump family's later ventures into television, seemed oddly prescient. Donald Trump Sr. wasn't impressed. In a memorable appearance on Larry King Live, he publicly chastised his son's choice, stating, "You have a name that is hot as a pistol. You have to be very careful with things like this." The senior Trump's disapproval cast a shadow over what should have been a purely joyous occasion, creating the first of many public family tensions that would eventually contribute to the marriage's undoing. Despite the controversy, Vanessa stood by Don Jr.'s side. Friends close to the couple remember her defending the proposal, insisting it was romantic in its own way. But some noticed a slight hesitation in her voice when discussing it, as if she was already learning to navigate the complex waters of being part of the Trump family. Their engagement period was filled with lavish parties, society events, and the kind of excess that defined New York's mid-2000s social scene. They were fixtures at Manhattan's hottest spots, from Mumba to Veruca, their relationship playing out in the gossip columns and society pages of New York's papers. Yet even then, there were whispers. Close friends of Vanessa later revealed to Page 6 that they had concerns from the start. People were telling her not to marry him before the wedding, one source claimed. But like many young couples in love, they were too caught up in the whirlwind to hear the warning bells. The lavish wedding. November 2005 brought the wedding that seemed to have it all, the glamorous venue, the high-profile guest list, and the picture-perfect couple. Mar-a-Lago, Donald Trump's palatial Palm Beach estate, provided a stunning backdrop for what the society pages would call the wedding of the season. The ceremony was arranged around a swimming pool, creating a magical atmosphere as the Florida sun reflected on the assembled guests. Christine Schott, who worked as Vanessa's publicist at the time, remembered the pure joy radiating from the bride. Vanessa was very loving. She was very much in love with Donnie. She was excited to become a Trump, she recalled. The guest list read like a who's who of New York society. Bo Dietl, the famous police detective turned TV commentator, mingled with Sophie D., the model and author. The paparazzi had a field day, though they sometimes struggled to tell which blonde matron was the bride's mother and which was the groom's. The paparazzi kept having to ask me who was who because Ivana looked so much like Vanessa's mother, Schott remembered. They both were tall with big blonde buns. Even Donald Trump's reaction to the wedding planning revealed the complex dynamics. When Schott introduced herself as the bride's publicist, Trump's response was telling. "Vanessa has a publicist?" he asked, clearly annoyed. It was an early sign of the tensions that would emerge between the traditional Trump way of doing things and Vanessa's approach to public life. The ceremony itself was a blend of traditional elegance and Trump-style grandeur. Vanessa wore a classic white gown that made headlines in all the fashion magazines, while Don Jr. looked every bit the proud groom in his tuxedo. The reception featured performances by top-tier musicians, gourmet cuisine, and flowing champagne that kept the party going well into the night. But beneath the surface of this wedding, observant guests noticed small signs of what was to come. Some noted how Vanessa appeared slightly overwhelmed by the sheer scale of Trump family expectations. Growing family pressures. Vanessa wasted no time in starting a family. Within a year and a half of their marriage, she gave birth to their first daughter, Kai Madison, in May 2007. For more children followed quickly: Donald John III, Tristan Milos, Spencer Frederick, and Chloe Sophia. This growing brood fulfilled Vanessa's dream of having a large family, but with each new addition came mounting pressures that would test the foundations of their marriage. Despite Don Jr.'s considerable personal worth of $25 million, sources close to the couple painted a picture of surprising financial strain. Page 6 reported that Don Jr. kept Vanessa on a surprisingly tight budget, leading to situations that seemed at odds with their public image. "She doesn't live a lavish life and can very rarely pick up a check at dinner," one friend revealed. Another source went further, claiming Vanessa had to turn to her own family for financial assistance. The contrast between their public persona and private reality grew starker with each passing year. While Don Jr. was building his business empire and maintaining the Trump family image, Vanessa found herself increasingly isolated in their home with the children. Sources who spoke to Page 6 described her as a devoted mother who spent most of her time managing the day-to-day responsibilities of raising 5 kids while her husband traveled extensively for work. Don Jr.'s busy schedule became a major source of tension. "Don Jr. has been busy traveling, which has contributed to their problems," one source explained. "Vanessa is a devoted mother, but she is increasingly lonely and alone in the house with the children." The demands of maintaining the Trump family image while essentially functioning as a single parent began to take their toll. Their different backgrounds also started to create friction. Vanessa came from a more liberal family than the Trumps. A fact that became increasingly relevant as Don Jr. began to embrace his father's conservative political stance. Her mother's social media activity supporting higher taxes and gun control stood in stark contrast to the positions Don Jr. would later champion publicly. The strain of maintaining appearances while dealing with these private struggles affected every aspect of their lives. Friends noticed how Vanessa began to withdraw from social events while Don Jr. threw himself even more intensely into work in his father's business empire. The couple, who had once been inseparable at Manhattan's hottest venues, were rarely seen together. The political storm. When Donald Trump announced his presidential campaign in 2015, it triggered a seismic shift in the family's dynamics. Don Jr., who had primarily been known as a businessman and reality TV figure, suddenly found himself thrust into the political spotlight. His transformation from Manhattan socialite to political warrior happened almost overnight, and the impact on his marriage was immediate and profound. Vanessa, who had always preferred a low-key lifestyle, found herself unwittingly dragged into the political arena. Sources close to the couple told Page 6, "Vanessa is a very low-key person. She is uncomfortable with the attention her family is getting now that the Trumps are on the world stage. The constant media scrutiny, Secret Service protection, and public examination of their every move created an environment of constant tension. Don Jr.'s evolution into one of his father's most ardent defenders marked a significant change in his public persona. He became increasingly active on social media, often engaging in political debates and sharing controversial content. His Twitter activity, in particular, became a source of concern for those close to the couple. He began liking tweets that linked antidepressants to mass shootings and sharing posts that attacked school shooting survivors, actions that friends say troubled Vanessa deeply. The political divide between their families became more pronounced. While Don Jr. was campaigning across the country championing conservative causes and his father's agenda, Vanessa's family maintained their liberal leanings. Her mother's social media activity supporting higher taxes and posting pro-gun control messages created an awkward dynamic that couldn't be ignored. The campaign trail kept Don Jr. away from home for extended periods, leaving Vanessa to manage their 5 children alone. The same source who spoke about their financial situation noted, "He's never there." The absence wasn't just physical. Even when home, Don Jr. seemed increasingly focused on political matters rather than family life. Security concerns became a daily reality. The family needed constant protection, their movements were restricted, and the simple act of taking the children to school became a complicated operation involving security details and careful planning. The pressure of living under such intense scrutiny began to wear on Vanessa, who had never sought this level of public exposure. Breaking point. The morning of February 12, 2018, started like any other day for Vanessa Trump, but it quickly turned into one of her life's most terrifying moments. While opening mail at her mother's Manhattan apartment, she came across a letter addressed to Don Jr. When she opened it, white powder spilled out, triggering an immediate security response that would send shock waves through the family. The incident prompted an immediate evacuation, with Vanessa and 2 others being rushed to New York Presbyterian Weill Cornell Medical Center as a precaution. Through extensive laboratory testing at a specialized New York City facility, the powder underwent thorough chemical analysis and biological screening. NYPD Assistant Commissioner J. Peter Donald confirmed that initial field tests at the scene showed no immediate chemical or biological threats. The powder was then carefully collected and transported to an advanced laboratory in New York City for comprehensive analysis following strict chain of custody procedures. Multiple agencies coordinated the investigation, with both the NYPD and U.S. Secret Service conducting parallel inquiries into the threatening package, which bore a Boston postmark and contained an angry note addressed directly to Trump Jr. Though the powder proved to be harmless, the psychological impact was devastating. A source close to the family revealed, it was terrifying for Vanessa, who was naturally worried for the safety of her children. This frightening episode seemed to be the final straw in a marriage already under immense strain. The constant security threats, combined with the political pressure and public scrutiny, had created an untenable situation. Friends noticed a marked change in Vanessa after the incident, describing her as more withdrawn and anxious than ever before. The powder scare brought to the surface all the fears and concerns Vanessa had been harboring about their high-profile lifestyle. It wasn't just about her safety anymore, it was about the safety of their 5 children. The incident forced her to confront the reality of what being part of the Trump family meant in an increasingly divided America. Don Jr.'s response to the incident also revealed the growing distance between them. While he tweeted his thanks to first responders and condemned those responsible, sources say he didn't immediately rush to be by Vanessa's side, instead continuing with his scheduled appearances. This perceived lack of priority for family over politics didn't go unnoticed. The media circus that followed the incident only intensified Vanessa's discomfort with public life. News outlets and social media users alike scrutinized every detail, analyzed every reaction, and picked apart every family statement. The pressure of maintaining a united front while dealing with such a traumatic experience proved overwhelming. Kai's perspective. Through private conversations with close friends, Kai Trump, the eldest daughter of Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump, has finally broken her silence, declaring, "It's time to tell everything." Her unique perspective as both a child of privilege and a teenager dealing with family breakdown offers a poignant glimpse into the human cost of a high-profile divorce. Being caught between two worlds isn't easy, she confided to a close friend. The constant media attention and the pressure of maintaining a perfect image while everything was falling apart at home created an emotional burden that no child should bear. Kai found herself navigating not just the normal challenges of growing up but doing so under the unforgiving lens of public scrutiny. The changes in her home life were dramatic and disorienting. Where once there had been family dinners and weekend activities, now there were scheduled visits and careful arrangements. The simple act of spending time with both parents became a logistical challenge complicated by security details, public appearances, and the ever-present paparazzi. School life became particularly challenging. Classmates would bring up news articles about her parents, share social media posts, or ask invasive questions about her family. Even though she tried to ignore it, her friends noticed that it was hard for her to be constantly reminded that her family struggles were public for everyone to see. The political aspect added another layer of complexity. As Don Jr. became increasingly involved in his father's political world, Kai watched her mother retreat further from the spotlight. The contrast between her parents' public personas and private struggles created a confusing narrative that she had to reconcile in her own mind. Holiday celebrations, once joyous family gatherings, became carefully orchestrated events where every interaction was potentially newsworthy. Kai found herself acting as a bridge between her parents, trying to maintain relationships with both sides of her family while processing her own feelings about the divorce. Despite these challenges, Kai remained strong. She focused on supporting her younger siblings and helping them understand the changes in their family. Those who knew her admired her ability to handle such a tough situation with maturity and grace. The silent struggle in the months before their marriage fell apart, the Trump household was filled with tension. Everything looked fine on the outside, but behind closed doors, the stress was overwhelming. People close to the family said Vanessa started confiding in a few trusted friends, telling them how lonely she felt. She was expected to present the perfect image of a Trump wife, but inside, she felt more disconnected from her husband. What started as occasional absences turned into a pattern of separate lives. Don Jr.'s social media presence had become almost manic in its intensity, transforming into a constant stream of political commentary, retweets of conspiracy theories, and aggressive responses to critics. Friends noticed how Vanessa would flinch when his posts made headlines, especially when they involved their children or family life. She felt like she was losing control of her own narrative. One close friend revealed that everything became political, even private family moments. The strain wasn't just emotional, it manifested in peculiar ways in their daily life. Even something as simple as dinner became a source of tension. Back in 2013, Don Jr. publicly called out Vanessa on Twitter for removing bacon from her sandwich, asking, "Who are you, and what have you done with my wife?" What might have seemed like playful banter to outsiders revealed deeper fissures in their relationship. This incident came to light around the same time as allegations of Don Jr. sending flirtatious direct messages to model Melissa Stetton about bacon-scented perfume, just after Vanessa had given birth to their third child. The children's schools became unofficial war zones of whispered conversations and awkward parent interactions. Other parents, unsure of how to handle the situation, often avoided Vanessa altogether. The isolation grew more profound as she found herself excluded from social circles that had once welcomed her warmly. The few friends who remained loyal painted a picture of a woman struggling to maintain normalcy for her children while watching her world crumble. Financial tensions escalated during this period. Despite the family's immense wealth, she would have to ask permission for the smallest things, a source close to the family revealed. It was humiliating for someone who had once had her own successful modeling career. The political divide between their families became increasingly apparent. While Don Jr. embraced his father's conservative politics with growing fervor, Vanessa came from a notably more liberal background. Her mother's social media activity, supporting higher taxes and gun control, stood in stark contrast to the positions Don Jr. championed publicly. This ideological gulf added another layer of complexity to their already strained relationship. The final straw came during a private family dinner when Don Jr. spent the entire evening on his phone, retweeting political content and arguing with strangers online. Vanessa realized that the man she had married, the one who used to make her laugh and share her dreams, had been replaced by someone she barely recognized. That night, after the children were asleep, she started thinking about divorce, though she would wait months before taking formal action, hoping to minimize the impact on their children and the broader Trump family's political aspirations. The final decision came in March 2018, marking the official end of Don Jr. and Vanessa's 12-year marriage when she filed for an uncontested divorce in Manhattan Supreme Court. The decision, though shocking to the public, came as no surprise to those closest to the couple. They had watched the marriage slowly unravel under the weight of political pressure, public scrutiny, and growing personal differences. The choice to file for an uncontested divorce was significant. It meant both parties had agreed on all aspects of their separation, from child custody to financial arrangements. This decision spoke volumes about their commitment to protecting their children from a potentially messy public battle. Their joint statement reflected this priority: "We have decided to go our separate ways. We have 5 beautiful children together, and they remain our top priority. We ask for your privacy during this time." While their joint statement emphasized privacy and mutual respect, the reality of their post-divorce lives painted a more complex picture of two people moving in drastically different directions. Vanessa's choice of legal representation raised eyebrows in Manhattan legal circles. She hired David Fison, a lawyer known for handling both civil and criminal cases. While some speculated about the significance of choosing a lawyer with criminal defense experience, others saw it as a strategic move to ensure all bases were covered in what would inevitably be a high-profile divorce. The timing of the divorce filing also sparked discussion. Sources revealed to Page Six that Vanessa had been considering divorce during Donald Trump's presidential campaign but had waited, hoping to avoid adding chaos to an already tumultuous political situation. Financial arrangements became a focal point of private negotiations. Despite Don Jr.'s significant wealth, sources claim that Vanessa had lived on a tight budget throughout their marriage. The divorce settlement needed to address not just current needs but also the ongoing security requirements that came with being connected to the first family. What do you think about Trump's revelations about her parents' divorce? Have you ever experienced similar challenges in your own family? Share your thoughts in the comments below.